You ask a simple question. How was school? And your child looks at you, looks away, and says nothing. Or maybe just fine. 2 words. Door closed. You stand there wondering what you did wrong. You wonder if they are pulling away. You wonder if something happened that they are not telling you. And the silence feels personal. But here is what is actually happening inside your child's brain. And it has almost nothing to do with you. When a child shuts down, it is not defiance. It is not manipulation. It is not even a choice in the way adults understand choices. It is a biological response. One that has been studied, documented, and traced back to the way the developing brain processes stress, safety, and connection. And once you understand it, everything changes. Start with the basics. The human brain is not one thing. It is layers. The deepest layer, sometimes called the reptilian brain, handles survival. Fight. Flee. Freeze. The middle layer, the limbic system, handles emotion. And the outer layer, the prefrontal cortex, handles language, logic, reasoning, and communication. The part that helps you say what you mean. Here is the critical detail. Those 3 layers do not develop at the same speed. In children, the limbic system is fully online and highly reactive. The prefrontal cortex is still under construction. It will not be complete until a person is in their mid-20s. This is not a flaw. It is a design feature. But it means that when a child experiences stress or emotional overwhelm, the deeper, more primitive parts of the brain take over. And those parts do not speak in words. Dr. Daniel Siegel, a clinical professor of psychiatry at UCLA, coined the phrase flipping your lid to describe exactly this process. When a child becomes emotionally activated, the prefrontal cortex goes offline. Not metaphorically. Neurologically. Blood flow and neural activity shift downward, toward the survival centers. The child is no longer able to articulate, reflect, or communicate. Not because they will not. Because in that moment, they literally cannot. Now ask yourself. When does your child go silent? It is usually not when things are calm. It is when they come home from a hard day. When something embarrassing happened. When they are already carrying something heavy. That is precisely the moment the brain is least equipped to convert experience into language. There is a term in neuroscience called affective alexithymia. It refers to the difficulty of identifying and describing emotional states. Researchers at the University of Toronto have found that this is not a personality trait. It is a state. A temporary condition that spikes under stress. Adults experience it too. But in children, it happens faster and more intensely because the regulatory systems are still developing. Your child is not withholding information from you. Your child does not have access to the information yet. The emotional experience has not yet been processed enough to become words. And here is something even more important. The act of being asked a question, especially one that feels loaded, can itself trigger shutdown. Think about what the question "How was your day?" actually signals to a child's nervous system. It signals that a response is expected. That performance is required. That they need to produce something. And if the day was hard, if they feel ashamed, confused, or overwhelmed, the demand for articulation on top of the already overwhelmed system becomes too much. The brain chooses silence as a form of self-protection. Dr. Bruce Perry, a neuroscientist and author who has spent decades studying childhood trauma and brain development, describes this as the escalating stress response. The brain evaluates incoming demands against current capacity. When demand exceeds capacity, the system defaults to shutdown. It is not personal. It is arithmetic. So what does that mean for you, as a parent, standing in the kitchen asking about their day? It means the question itself may be the problem. Not because it is wrong to ask. But because it arrives at the wrong moment, in the wrong form, from the wrong direction. Consider what happens in the first 30 to 90 minutes after a child comes home from school. Researchers at the University of California, Los Angeles studied family interactions during this period and called it the witching hour. During this window, cortisol, the primary stress hormone, is elevated from the demands of the school day. Social performance, academic pressure, navigating peer dynamics, all of it accumulates. The child walks through the door already operating at a neurological deficit. Asking them to debrief their emotional day during this window is like asking someone who just ran a marathon to immediately sit down and give a speech. The body is not ready. The brain is not ready. What the brain needs in that window is not interrogation. It is regulation. And regulation does not come from words. It comes from physical safety cues. A calm voice. Unhurried movement. No expectation of immediate performance. What researchers call co-regulation, the process by which an adult's calm nervous system literally helps a child's dysregulated nervous system return to baseline, is the prerequisite for conversation. Not the other way around. There is also something that parents rarely consider. The content of what children experience cannot always be translated into the format parents request. You ask for a narrative. What happened? Who said what? What you did. But emotional experience is not stored or retrieved as a linear narrative. It is stored as sensation, image, feeling, and atmosphere. Asking a child to convert that into a coherent story is a high-order cognitive task. And they are not always equipped to do it on demand. Dr. Tina Payne Bryson, co-author of The Whole Brain Child, describes this as the difference between implicit and explicit memory. Implicit memory is the raw felt sense of an experience. Explicit memory is the organized, language-based version. Children often have the implicit memory fully intact but have not yet done the internal processing required to generate the explicit version. They know something happened. They know it felt bad. But they cannot tell you why yet. And being pushed to tell you before they are ready does not speed up the process. It shuts it down further. And here is the part that changes everything for most parents. The shutdown is not a signal that your child does not want to talk to you. It is a signal that they do not yet know how. The path back to connection is not through the front door of direct questions. It is through the side door of presence. Of being near without demanding anything. Of talking about something unrelated. Of moving side by side, doing something together, without expectation of disclosure. Researchers have found that children are far more likely to open up during indirect, low-stakes activity. In the car. While cooking. While playing a game. Not face to face. Not with eye contact. Side by side. The absence of direct gaze reduces the social pressure enough that the prefrontal cortex can stay online. You do not need to solve the silence. You need to outlast it. Because here is what your child's brain is always calculating, beneath language, beneath awareness. Is this person safe? Can I afford to be vulnerable here? Will I be fixed, corrected, or dismissed if I say the real thing? Those questions are not conscious. But they determine whether the door opens. Every time you sit near your child without demanding anything. Every time you respond to a partial story without immediately trying to solve it. Every time you say that sounds hard instead of here is what you should have done, you are lowering the cost of being honest. You are signaling safety. And the brain responds to safety. Dr. Daniel Siegel says connection before correction. Not as a parenting slogan. As a neurological description. The prefrontal cortex, the part your child needs to communicate, is only accessible when the child feels safe. Safety comes first. Words come second. So tonight, when your child comes home and says nothing, when the fine hangs in the air between you, know this. That silence is not rejection. It is a nervous system trying to find its way back to baseline. Your job in that moment is not to pull them open. It is to be the kind of calm they can borrow. Because you were once a child too. And you remember, even if you cannot put it into words, what it felt like when someone just sat with you. Without asking. Without fixing. Without needing you to be okay before you were ready. And eventually, you found the words.